How are you, Colin?
Woo! Hi, Seth. How are you?
I miss having your energy in the studio with me.
Thank you. I miss being there. This is going to be weird, but you like this long Hitchcockian shot behind me, right?
The cinematographer in you has come out once again with your framing there. I think the whole interview will be waiting to see who's coming up behind you.
Well, I think it's also symbolic, like the unconscious, and you know what I mean?
I think we all get it. We all get what you're trying to do.
Oh, I don't know about that, but go ahead.
So you were obviously born and raised a New Yorker, and I need to know, did you leave? Have you left at all during quarantine?
Just little minor trips, but not really. No, I'm like those people, that don't leave during the hurricane and, the tornado, the old guys like, I'm not leaving my house. And then they die and you're like, you didn't want to leave.
It does seem like this is, it's like the source of your powers. It would seem very strange to me if you left New York City.
You're right. Every time I leave, when I come back, my whole heart swells up in the cab coming from the airport. Like, oh, I love you.
It's a beautiful drive from the airport. It should be noted for those who've never been here.
It really is, yeah.
So this is based on the book is based on your show, Red State, Blue State. And you're not that optimistic about the state of the nation. You basically say it's like a marriage couple about to sign divorce papers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, now that everybody knows this is over, but we still keep hanging on like any marriage. They're like, they'll come around, they'll change, And what are we arguing over? Money, like any married couple. But the good thing about my book, if I can say so, is everything's a state. So it's like, I'm all about table of contents at this point. You can read this book and just there it is. It's like, you ever see The Founder with Michael Keaton?
Yeah, of course.
And then he walks in McDonald's and everything's organized. That's how people are going to feel when they look at this book and go, oh, look, New Mexico, instead of like, oh, French fries, like that.
So yes, people will respond to your book the way Ray Kroc did when he saw the original McDonald's.
Exactly.
The dedication, I'm always drawn to the dedication. You dedicated this book to someone very special.
Yeah, I dedicated it to myself.
Right.
Because one thing I'm still getting sick of is the false humility. That was like a 1950s thing, and then everybody made fun of show business in the 70s and 60s, and Dustin Hoffman would wear like a corduroy jacket to the Oscars, and now suddenly it's back to you're amazing, you're the best, and people are hugging and over complimenting each other and making these platitudes. So I dedicated to the person that did the lion's share of the work in this country, me.
It is. It's very refreshing for someone to just call it. Look, I think we all know you did the lion's share of the work here, and you deserve the dedication.
I mean, it was a Trump move. I guess this is the right era to do that, too.
We have a debate coming up tomorrow night. I think a lot of people would love to see Colin Quinn as a moderator for a presidential debate. What would be a question you would ask?
One question I would ask you, I would say, are you as frightened as everybody else that one of you actually will be the president in November?
Yeah. It does feel very surreal that it's finally happening. Like, I knew it was coming, and now I kind of can't wrap my head around the fact that we're going to watch those two gentlemen talk tomorrow.
It's kind of exciting in a way. You know what I mean?
You take issue with some of the things that I feel like are obviously held in very high regard, like the Bill of Rights. You have some issues with the Bill of Rights.
Well, I mean, the Bill of Rights is the worst. It was an add-on anyway. It's not part of the Constitution. They were like, hey, we forgot about the people. And then they're like, oh, let's give them the Bill of Rights. And first of all, freedom of speech, that's a figure of speech. It's not supposed to be freedom of speech. Now we've seen social media has exposed how horrifying it is, because our country is not meant to be we're not supposed to be an intelligent country. We were like enthusiastic, like young, like jock, fun, We're not supposed to be like France, debating with chain smoking and, sitting in a cafe, talking about the nuances of politics. And now that's what we become.
And I think one of the things that, whenever this comes up and there's a seat on the Supreme Court, we realize that we're a lot of people, but not really a lot of us have that much of a say.
Yeah, I mean, all these people, all these senators, Congress, we take care of everything. Supreme Court, they're like, yeah, leave it at 9. It's like, really? Isn't that how the country started with 9? Wouldn't it be like 27 times more people, 27 times? it should be like 270 people, since there's 300 million people or 1 million people at the time. But they're like, no, 9 people who, would rather be showing each other pictures of their grandchildren. Let's make that the deciding factor on everything.
Declaration of Independence. Surely you don't have an issue with that?
Well, because, obviously all men are created equal. If we set expectations, instead if they just said all men are created equal, we know what you're going to say, and then people would be like, okay, as long as you know that, go on.
And the Electoral College, I think that people now more than ever are maybe thinking this wasn't the best situation.
Yeah, but at the time, you look at a show like Deadwood, which is where I get all my research from. Deadwood, you're dealing with like psychotic guys, oil barons, cattle baron. They didn't want to be states. You had to. They needed incentive to be a state. They're like, well, I'd rather be a territory. Being a territory means you still can do whatever you want, but you don't have to pay taxes. So to get him in, they kind of had to give him something. So they give him 2 senators,
I also, I believe I understand that more from Deadwood than anything else. So all jokes aside.
Deadwood says a lot,
the pulling of the strings behind the scenes in Yankton. Hey, as a stand-up comedian, I have to ask, how is this era? I mean, it's obviously incredibly difficult for people who do that full time. And what do you think the future of stand-up is going to be?
I think the future of stand-up is going to be like, and I've been accused of using this reference too often, Deadwood. No. I think the future of stand-up comedy, it could be like Deadwood, those outdoor shows, I think the future of stand-up is going to be below the equator, because only outdoor shows are going to matter. There's no indoor. Indoor is done for society now. I thought it was all indoor. It's going to be all outdoor, And so I think the big community, like baseball, the Dominicans became the best baseball players because Dominican Republic can play year round. So anybody that lives down south is going to have a lot more sets, and that's going to be the big comedy boom.
Oh, so it's basically the Northeast, which, let's be honest, has been a pipeline for a long time as far as American comedy. You think it's going to dry up?
Yeah, unless global warming happens, you know what I mean?
And I know, I remember when in my high school, there was a couple kids who were good at baseball, and their parents sent them down to Florida to live full time. Do you think that'll happen where, a comedian has a couple good sets in New York, and they're like, we got to get you down south?
Yeah, for a really funny guy, they're going to we got to get you to Paraguay or something like that.
Thank you. It's always so great to see you, Colin. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.